Good morning and welcome to the Sunday Morning Sports Podcast. I'm BA along with Jack Hirsch and Keith Engel. Hope you gentlemen had a very good 4th of July. I hope everybody out there had a very good 4th of July. It was kind of quiet for me. I think Keith was the same way. Jack had a whole bunch of stuff going on. Jack, you saw a fight last night. What was that fight about?
Yeah, Abdullah Mason stopped Albert Bell, and no, Keith, not the Albert Bell that played for the Indians. Yeah. In the last round, there was an entertaining night of boxing. Choo Carrington, defended his WBO featherweight title. Tougher than expected fight against Ruben Palacios. And so with combine that with the July 4th fireworks, it's unique. So it was kind of a nice July 4th night.
Hot in the city, Jack. Hot last night down the city?
Yeah, well, we don't care how the weather was. We care how sports were. That's the thing.
Weather is part of sports, Jack.
Hot. That's what I'm talking about. You want to talk about fan misbehavior, you got to do it with Brian. I want no part of fan misbehavior.
How does the weather have anything to do with fan misbehavior? Come on.
Listen, it's hot. I mean, that's fan misbehavior. Come on.
They misbehave when it's below zero. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah, it doesn't take too much for humans these days to do that. Hey, World Cup 2026, down to the final 16. We had 2 games yesterday, Morocco versus Canada and France versus Paraguay. Morocco took care of Canada. I don't think anybody thought Canada was going to go too far. But they kind of dominated Canada in that game. It was a good game, but it was dominated by Morocco, 3-0. And then France beat Paraguay 1-0 in a very tightly contested game. Paraguay was giving them everything. They were giving them the business. But
didn't score till the 65th minute, was it? They scored, Brian?
Yep. Right? Yep. Mbappe. People are not talking about Mbappe for France. Dude's right on the same course as Messi right now, and nobody's really talking a lot about him. Good morning, Rick.
Hello, Rick.
Carlton. Yeah.
Guys,
go ahead, Jack.
Have you noticed? Because I have in soccer. They really enforce the rules, the authorities, more so than in any other sport. In any other sport, you could get into a big fight, a big melee. What are you going to get? A 5-6 game suspension or something thereabouts, okay? But in soccer, you better be careful if you get into a fight, because at the end of the game yesterday was very personal with France and Paraguay yesterday. They wanted to fight. They actually wanted to fight at midfield at the end of the game, both teams. And they thought better of it, because if they got into any fight, especially on the World Cup stage, they might be eliminated, certain players, from playing 4 years from now. That's how bad it could be.
Wow.
So because they know the rules are so stringent, so strict, the players somehow manage to restrain themselves because they know about the consequences. And I wish we had that in other sports as well, that if they realized how severe the consequences were going to be, they wouldn't go at it. But it was really personal with France and Paraguay at the end of that game, and the way they were snipping at one another. And when they had these close shots of defenders guarding the ball handlers, the way you'd see their arms getting yanked, this and that. And man, soccer has so much body contact, so much more than people actually realize. You think of the NBA, 2 players leaning on one another, pushing off, doing this, doing that. You get more of that actually in soccer than you even do in the NBA.
Yeah, but the players also make it look like they hit with a baseball bat when they get, tangled up at all. They just flop to the ground and lay there, waiting for somebody to come and euthanize them.
Yeah, before we were on the show, before the show went live, we were talking about how these guys are just flopping all over the place. And I thought that they had better control of that in soccer. But I don't know if it's because it's the World Cup and it's on air and they're just being lenient against these guys because there's been a lot of ridiculous flopping going on.
You know, the way the games are covered with so many camera angles and everything, you would think that they'd be discouraged more from doing this because they look silly once they're shown from 10 different angles, just laying there. They got touched and they're laying in agony on the ground.
There's another thing that I want to bring up that bothers me about today's game. England against Mexico. The game is being played in Mexico City. It's not so much that the team Mexico is going to have a supposed home field advantage and that they should have more fans there, that it's in their home country. That's fine because the United States sometimes has that advantage of being in its home country. That's fine. But the darn game is at high altitude. It's a big disadvantage to the UK. The Mexican players are used to that altitude. And something is unfair about sea level athletes having an advantage over athletes that aren't from sea level. And the UK shouldn't be put at that disadvantage in the World Cup.
They played the entire Olympics there, Jack.
No, but it's like the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, where Jim Ryan lost the 1,500 meter race to Kip Keino, who was from a country, sea level, as opposed, to Jim Ryan, from the United States. Jim Ryan used to beat Kip Keino on a regular basis, but in the Olympics, he came out second to him, and altitude had a lot to do with it. It's just unfair, For that, I just don't like it. And I know we have that in places like Denver. The Denver Nuggets have supposed advantage with the altitude. But somehow in Mexico City, the altitude's even higher there. And that kind of bothers me, the disadvantage the UK is going to be at today.
They'll be all right.
Jack's a fan of the England club.
Yeah, right. And just to segue into that, yes, Mexico and England are playing today as well as Brazil and Norway. So those will be two interesting matchups, especially Brazil and Norway. I know, Keith, did you say you were rooting for Norway?
Kind of. I mean, I'm rooting for the USA, obviously, but from a secondary standpoint, just have something to root for. The Norway, just because they're fans. A lot of the fans, Jack mentioned the other day, a lot of the fans are really cool and fun. But these Norway fans just strike me as a lot of fun. They've been at ball games doing their row, and it's kind of fun. So I'll root for Norway today.
You mentioned, Brian, I think you mentioned it a little while ago on the show with Canada, that no one expected them to go far. With the team, Canada would have been a true Cinderella team. We had our eye on them because they exceeded expectations. This has been their greatest World Cup run in history. So Canada was playing with house money. They leave this tournament and their fans, their country could say, job well done, this particular World Cup. Who's the biggest Cinderella team left? No one at this point is a true Cinderella team. Well, once you get out of the round of 16 to the round of 8, people are looking at you as like a team that's about to go on a Cinderella run. Of all the teams left, is it the USA? Is it, or who would be the biggest Cinderella team at this point, conceivably, if they make it to the round of 8?
I would say the USA myself for sure would be the first one. If you had to pick somebody else, maybe somebody like Egypt or somebody that you don't hear a lot in these situations. It would have been Cabo Verde if they'd found a way to pull that miracle Friday night, but they didn't. Great game, as I mentioned before the show. I think they were the darlings of this tournament before they went out.
Okay, so when they tied the game up, something seemed off. The player ran into the stands. I mean, something about that. Should that be allowed?
Well, then
you imagine Anunoby scores the basket, he runs into the stands. This isn't the Lambeau Leap exactly, and even they don't go in the stands; they're just leaping along the wall.
Well, I think because there's so few goals scored for the most part, right? I think there's always a little extra celebration, it seems, for all these goals, right? Players tackling each other, and they don't get hurt then, but they do when somebody trips them. I'm confused. But
Right. They can always find their stride when they get tripped, though, and they score a goal. It's like
pile on top of them. 16 guys pile on top of them after a goal. They get up fine, but somebody trips them, and they broke their entire body.
I would like. I think of these crazy rules. Myself and Mac used to have a lot of fun. For example, we'd call for fan participation. Fans sitting in the right field stands. If a fan wore a team's uniform on and they caught a home run ball, it would be considered an out. We would have fun, like kind of joke around like that. And if Mac were here, we would joke around something like this. A player flops like he's been shot or something. The referee should blow a whistle and say, you have to stay there for 5 minutes on that spot on the ground. You just sit there, watch the action, and you can only get up if a ball is within 10 feet of you after that. Then you can get up. We don't want you to run over.
Right.
I usually hate Jack's rules, but these I like.
Yeah, those are pretty nice. That's good stuff there. Stop with all that flapping stuff, guys. Come on, play World Cup at a high professional level, man. Just stop flapping.
No, but it's not just the flopping, Brian Keith, but they're doing it so dramatically. That's what I don't like.
That's my point exactly. The part that looks like you're dying there on the ground.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, the United States plays Belgium. And what do you guys got on that game? You think that even with Balogun out of there, that they still have a chance to win that game?
It's going to be difficult. He's their main scorer, right? And, Belgium struggled in the last game. I'm trying to remember who they played. Who they play?
Portugal? No, not Portugal. Wait.
Ecuador? I don't remember now. But they struggled a bit. USA's got a chance to win here for sure.
Portugal.
And they're playing on, their home turf, as Jack talked about. That'll be helpful. Stars will be helpful.
Senegal, yeah.
Senegal, right.
They
beat them in extra time.
Which wasn't highly, they weren't necessarily highly regarded. Portugal has moved on. They're in a different bracket, right? But yeah, I don't know. USA's they're kind of playing with house money, I guess now, right? I would say
Senegal looked like they had that game won. Yeah, with Belgium. Belgium had to come back.
They just scored 2 goals, didn't they, in the last few minutes of the game?
At the 85-minute mark. I'm sorry, I forgot it was Senegal for a moment. I actually watched that game.
I didn't notice. I feel bad that I don't know this, but in the last few seconds of a game or whatever, like hockey pulls the goalie. Can they pull the goalie and put an extra player on the field? I don't think they can they?
The goalie can come to midfield practically. Yeah. He could come out and he can be a factor with just keeping the pressure on.
Yeah. Okay. The Capo Verde goalie did that a couple times late in the game, brought the ball near midfield.
In hockey, it wouldn't make sense for the goalie to come to the midline, because you can't get back quick enough. In soccer, you have a chance the goalie getting back at least.
But they can't pull the guy and put an extra attacker in there in the right.
And I think the way the goal, the situation of the goal itself, with hockey, it's a little bit smaller, so it's a lot less likely that you're going, if you shoot it down the ice, you got like a 50-50 chance of hitting. I think it's like more like a 75% chance of hitting it if you're shooting a ball at a goal that's like way out there,
Well, you're not going to. It's hard to reach the goal from far away, The field is so much bigger.
Them goaltenders can kick them balls, and then they
but if the goalie comes out, if you have the ball on your own defensive end. It's hard to reach the ball with a kick that's going to have, that's going to find its mark and have so much power on it. But we look for a good game today, Mexico and England. And like I said, I think the altitude is going to favor, Mexico City. It's already affected the English team. They admitted in practice they felt it. You don't know the psychological effects on top of that as well.
They played all their games in Mexico City, haven't they? Jack. So I would think you know.
But some athletes have lived there for a lifetime.
Well, I get it.
You make just an artificial adjustment. That's about it. It takes time to make a full adjustment.
I mean, if you have an advantage, you might as well use it. I mean, I'm sure the Broncos and the Nuggets and the Rockies have that advantage, as well as, hey, even Miami. To Keith's point, you go down to Miami in the dead of summertime, guess where you're going to be sitting at as a visitor in that hot baking sun. So ain't nobody want to do that during a football game when it's like 120 on your side and they got air conditioning and shade on their side,
Or to the Northeast in January, right? So same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So it happens. It's whoever capitalizes on their advantage. It's fine with me. I have no problem with it. Going on to baseball, the major leagues as it is. Again, we have to keep coming to Keith because his Yankees, I don't know what's going on. 8 or 9 games they've lost. They didn't look good against Minnesota last night. Minnesota just basted them.
Lost 12 of the last 16. They haven't scored. They scored 5 runs once since June 18th. Now Rondon's hurt, who I'm not a big fan of anyway, but he's pitched well most of the times out. He's out 4 to 6 weeks. It's another month before Fried comes back. Now they need starting pitching all of a sudden, where it looked like starting pitching was going to be something they didn't need to worry about at the trade deadline. But as this trade deadline will start to quickly approach, they've got to get very aggressive here, I think. But how many sellers are there going to be? You can't overpay for a guy like Skubal, I don't think, because he's a rental. So the Yankees, I mean, they're going to probably have to pretty much win with what they have and hope that the pitchers get healthy, Judge gets healthy, and catcher is the biggest spot they need. I don't care how Aaron Boone can talk about the great leadership that Austin Wells brings to every game, but he's hit 150, and you can't keep going along with that night after night. They got to make an adjustment here.
Sometimes I wonder about certain deals. They're unpopular to make at the time. And I'll give you a case in point. When Gary Sanchez was a catcher of the Yankees, you mentioned Austin Wells. Gary Sanchez was sensational when he came up. He looked like he was going to be catcher the next 10, 12 years. He was phenomenal. And I remember sitting in the press room of a boxing show and talking to, a couple other Yankee fans. And I said, this is a perfect time to trade him to the White Sox for Chris Sale and sign Sale to a multi-year deal. And they said, you can't trade Gary Sanchez. He's great. He's this. Well, had the Yankees done that, it would have been a phenomenal deal for the Yankees. And I kind of want a player who I'm pretty high on. I like him a lot. But is he built to last like Ben Rice? Okay? You traded Ben Rice for Skubal, for example, only if you could sign Skubal to a long-term deal. Only. You don't do it if he's a rental at all. I agree with you 100%, Keith. You don't mess around with rentals unless you could give a low-level prospect.
Yeah, Ben Rice.
And if the Yankees got really aggressive and they were going to pay Skubal the same amount they would as if he were a free agent, that's a massive deal. And it's something that the Tigers, there's an excellent chance would do it. Wow, Ben Rice is an all-star. He's this, he's that. But is Ben Rice going to be all that going forward? He might be a decent player, but I don't see him being going on a Hall of Fame trajectory, Those are the type of gutsy deals that a lot of GMs don't make.
Yeah, including Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman is always afraid, and that's why Gary Sanchez was here at least 3 years too long, because he's afraid what he's going to do somewhere else. It doesn't matter what he does somewhere else if he's not doing it here. In Sanchez's case, Ben Rice is doing it here. That'd be a hard sell.
It would be a gut. No, but you're talking about Skubal.
Yeah,
you sign him to an extension. You're having one of the best pitchers in baseball. Come on.
I'll disagree, but he's not going to agree to a deal before the deadline either.
Well, so you're saying, Keith, the Yankees have to be really aggressive, and you're going into a shell being very conservative.
No, that's not conservative for a rental. If I could sign him and you could
No,
guarantee
of course, I don't want a rental. I said it. It's
You have to
only
be-
if you could sign him to an
but you have to
extension.
be realistic. They're not going to sign him to an extension. He's going to be a free agent. He's not going to just say, okay.
Well, the Mets would sooner work out a deal for Scooble because I could see Steve Cohen being bold enough to work out the numbers on an extension now. But Brian, you could answer this better. What would Scooble want as an extension? What would be his minimum amount of years? Ideally, teams would want to give him a 5-year extension, but at this point, he's going to be a free agent. He's going to want a good 8 years at least, I think.
Especially with labor issues, he's going to want as long as he can get because he may not get it after this. They may limit how many years they can sign. So,
until your point there, Keith, you're talking about the work stoppage that might happen in December. Pretty much will probably happen in December. So, a lot of these free agency trades and stuff that's going to go on before August. What is it? 1st, right? Is the trade deadline?
July 31st. Yeah.
July 31st.
Yeah.
Trade deadline. So, with that being said, I mean, I'm sure these teams are going to be working with caution because they already know what the impendable doom is going to be. So, I don't with Scooble. He is one of those guys that, yeah, he had 2 years where he was a Cy Young winner, and you can't overlook that. But this year hasn't been one of his better years, and this is something I'm kind of concerned if I'm looking at him
And
from
some
another
arm
team's
issues.
perspectives. Yeah.
Now he's showing some arm issues too, so that's worrisome. I see the Yankees more. Yankees may look across town, Jack, because Freddie Peralta is probably going to get dealt by the Mets. He'd be a pretty good addition, I think, for the Yankees at a much cheaper cost.
Yeah, I agree in that sense, but I don't think starting pitching is an issue with the Yankees at all.
You got a month before you get Fried back. You got at least a month before you get.
Well, they're going to get all these guys back. I mean, that's the point. I mean, come on, really concerned. You have a pitching staff of Schlitter, who's one of the best starters in Major League Baseball. Now you have Max Fried. You have Garrett Cole, you have Rondon, and you have a number of guys like Warren who are decent fifth starters.
Too much starting pitching. Never have too much starting pitching.
You can never have too much, but it's not your biggest need. You said a moment ago the darn team's not hitting. That's the problem.
They also need a starting pitcher, though. I'm telling you, they need all of that. That's why they need to be aggressive. They can't look for one position. They got to look at third base. They got to look at catcher. They got to look at pitcher. They got to look at.
You're not playing with monopoly money, Keith. It's not hard to get these guys. I need this. I need that. Just get me this. Get me a winning formula. Bring Joe Torre out of retirement while you're still at it. The guy whose number you think should get retired.
Brian Cashman you must be on Brian Cashman's payroll now because you're carrying his water. We can go out and do anything. When it comes to money, it doesn't matter. It is monopoly money to the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
A business at the end. You have to be prudent. Now, even with the Knicks, when they struggle next year, you're going to say James Dolan, I should have gone into the second apron. Is there a third apron? Just go into that.
Well, all kinds of aprons, yes. He's not going to do that. We already saw that.
It is. And now you mentioned something, Jack. You said that it's a business. Well, what is your business in sports? Isn't it to win championship?
It is. Winning means more money normally. But the Yankees are always winning, not championships. They're always in the mix. You're in the hope business. Put it this way.
But when you're the Yankees, you set the bar to a height. See, the Yankees, you expect to win world. Keith is a perfect example of a Yankees fan. You expect to win World Series or be in the World Series
living
every
in
year.
the past. Don't you understand that? Keith is living in the 1940s and 50s.
Damn.
No, that's your time. That's not my time.
There's more divisional rounds. It's so much harder to win. You want to be in the mix and give yourself a legitimate chance of winning a championship. Listen, I'm a Jets fan. Jets are not in the mix next season to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, New England is in the mix. They might not, again, they got there last year. They might not get there this year, but they are in the mix. There's hope. You're with the Lions, a Lion fan. The Lions window, I think, is closing, but technically, I guess they're still in the mix. There's
You
still
can be
hope
happy.
that they can go to the Super Bowl.
You are the perfect Jet fan, and it shows in these arguments because you're content for your team to be in the mix. I'm not content with that ever.
I'm not even.
I have
not
a
with the
team that
Lions.
hasn't gone to the playoffs in 15 years.
That's why you're
I'm
content.
thrilled
and
that they're in the mix.
That's why you shouldn't put.
Got there.
That's why you shouldn't put a comparison in there with the Yankees and the Jets because the expectations are much higher.
Yankees are in the playoffs virtually every year that they get eliminated.
Other teams.
There are more divisional rounds.
There's more teams in the playoffs.
Listen.
Getting in the playoffs is not enough. Not enough. It might be in Kansas City. It's not here. That's not enough.
I mean, you want to win a championship. I get it if you're the Yankees. That's the goal. But things have changed in sports. You know, there are more teams, more playoff rounds. It's harder to get there.
So I hate all that. So I don't have to change my approach to accommodate that. My approach still is the same. Win or go home. I mean, it says it.
So
your coach said it.
Let's
Your
fire
coach said
every coach and
win
manager who doesn't win a championship. Listen, if the Knicks
after 10 years,
don't win another championship in the next 3 years, and I don't think they will because it's so hard to get there. And the Knicks had a magical season. They shouldn't be favorites to repeat. They absolutely should not be favorites to repeat. But some
Vegas
people
don't see it that way right now.
That they'll make them the favorites. What are we going to do? Start firing Mike Brown? We're going to get mad at James Dolan, calling the worst owner in sports again?
He's got collateral. He's got a championship in his pocket. He gets more time. Aaron Boone, how many
championships? He gets an extra season.
Aaron Boone's had 10 years. How many championships does he have? One trip.
The Yankees haven't had a losing season in over 30 years. They've had winning seasons.
Guys have been fired elsewhere for haven't had losing seasons either, by the way, if they don't win in the playoffs. Yankees don't win enough. I'm sorry. I'm not going to change my opinion ever.
Well,
Mike Tomlin's a good example of that. And it's like Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell, he's been here for 5 years. He's done some good things for the Lions, but after a certain time, that's going to be exhausted if you're not getting to the Super Bowl because that's the whole point.
You're getting close to that, right? People talk about windows closing. It's not necessarily it's more on the coach, the windows closing, than on team itself.
Well, the Yankees went to a World Series a couple of years ago, and the Lions haven't gone to a Super Bowl. So that comparison is slightly off.
But the Lions, see, the difference between the Lions and the Yankees, because I'm not comparing either one of those two teams. Obviously, the Yankees are on a high threshold, but the Lions have never had a complete team where they can be considered as a Super Bowl contender every season. So that's the difference. So you got your last 5 years with this team, and you got a coach that's gonna do a very good job. He's on a hot seat if he doesn't get it done within at least 7 to 8 years. I gave him 5, but whatever. So you want to win. Your business is to win Super Bowls, championships, whatever team you are in any league. That's business because you're right, Jack. Once you win that, you get a lot of money from winning that because everybody's favoring you, like the Knicks. Knicks win a championship they ain't won in 50-something years. Now all of a sudden they're the kings of the NBA.
Keith is the same guy who was really annoyed, and said it's flat out wrong that Tom Thibodeau get replaced. He didn't like it. They didn't win with Thibodeau, I could say. They didn't even go to the finals, and they replaced him.
It's a different situation.
Keith is arguing against that. And now he wants Aaron Boone fired, but the Knicks to hold on to Thibodeau. And we see the way that worked out.
It's apples and oranges. The Knicks were irrelevant before Tom Thibodeau got there, and they got better every single year, and then they fired him.
They didn't win a championship. You say that's all that matters.
I didn't say that's all that matters. Well, I did say that. It is all that matters eventually. He has had 10 years to do it. And Aaron Boone, and by the way, it's not just Aaron Boone. It's Brian Cashman as well.
Do you think the Yankees would be better off to get another GM instead of Brian Cashman? You honestly think that Brian Cashman is going to be a Hall of Fame GM? He's outstanding in my view, at
He's
least.
done fine. What's he done the last 25 years?
No,
One
no,
world
no.
championship.
Do you feel so? If you were in charge, would move on from Brian Cashman, is what you're saying, and find another GM somewhere?
About 6 years ago, yeah.
And then you would move on from Aaron Boone, but you would hire. I'm sure you're a big fan of Don Mattingly as the manager, who has a track record of not winning.
Well, he hasn't.
Okay, but you love Don Mattingly because the Phillies started to win after they let go of Rob Thompson earlier this year with him. So Mattingly would be your manager.
I don't know.
And if you look, and that's the guy who never went to a World Series as a player or a coach.
I never said I wanted Don Mattingly over Aaron Boone. I have said I never would have hired Aaron Boone, and I certainly would have at least interviewed the guy who took the Phillies to a World Series. He didn't win, but Rob Thompson never got an interview.
Aaron Boone went to a World Series too.
Once in 10 years, that's fine. That's good. If that's good enough for you, that's fine. I mean, it's not good enough for me, that's all.
But outside of Dave Roberts, the Dodger manager, no other manager's been going to World Series with any type of consistency. It's basically been a one and done thing.
How many of them been around as long as Aaron Boone? None.
That shows you the changes haven't helped the franchises. You move. I mean, with that formula, you would have fired a guy like Marty Schottenheimer, who was an outstanding coach.
Outstanding regular season coach, absolutely. Never won a championship, never got to a Super Bowl.
You know, it kind of reminds me of the whole, again, Pistons went through that same thing with Rick Carlisle. They kept getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, but couldn't get over the hump. And then they got Larry Brown at a lucky time, and he comes in there and steps, and they get to a championship. They go to two championships. They lost one, but they go to two in a row. So sometimes maybe it's just the coaching funk that's the stale part of it. And I'm kind of getting those, like, I like Dan Campbell, but I'm kind of getting those vibes with him. It's like he can do really good during the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, he's just, discombobulated. And I think that's probably what's going to happen to a lot of teams that have coaches that have been there for a while, and they're going to get tired of just making it to this point. We are here in the business to win championships, not to be winning playoff games. Although that helps, obviously, but at the same time,
I get it.
Well, sometimes you have to change the culture. Okay,
so you're the manager and the coaching staff. That's how you change.
I would hear this nonsense with the Cowboys. Well, if they didn't move on from Jimmy Johnson, they'd win 4 in a row, this and that. Maybe they would have. Maybe they wouldn't have won the 3rd Super Bowl if he were the coach instead of Barry Switzer. We're never going to know. But I do know this. Jimmy Johnson replaced Don Shula at Miami. It was time for change. The Dolphin fans were getting sick of Don Shula. Well, we haven't been going to Super Bowl. Guess what? He did no better than Jimmy Johnson. No better than Don Shula.
Works both ways.
Jimmy Johnson did no better.
A
lot of times it's overhyped, and sometimes coaches and managers make a big time difference.
They do.
I
just said. That's what I've been
this
saying.
Question's kind of for you, Jack. The question speaking of money in MLB, with the MLB finally getting a salary cap, if they get a salary cap. How bad do you think it affects the Mets? That's what he meant. Still having to pay Bonilla.
Bonilla. I mean,
it's only $1 million a year.
That pocket change, they got to do it for about 8 more years, close to $2 million a year for Bobby Bonilla. So it's Steve Cohn jokes he wants to make a big placard, have a happy Bobby Bonilla Day, which is smart by Steve Cohn. He might get a few thousand people more and get a little of the money back. But $1.93 million, the Steve Cohn has about, 17 billion altogether. Now, I sometimes wonder, we talk about doing this or that, and maybe Keith would do it, maybe I would do it, maybe you would do it, Brian. If we had that type of money for our team, would we sit down and think, I'm willing to lose $1 billion to build a winner. I'm willing to lose that money. Are you that big of a fan? But I think these guys,
$500 billion,
they're kind of caught in the middle, like James Dolan with the Knicks. He says, I'm not going to the second apron. It's suicidal. I don't know what the numbers are on the second apron. So I'm not going to be critical of him. But his attitude is, well, maybe, I'm willing to break even and not make any money, but I'm not losing a fortune of money. That's why the Knicks didn't sign Mitch Robinson in large part.
It's not just the money in the NBA, and it gets very confusing because the second apron brings in things like you can only offer so many exemptions and, mid-level contracts. It gets very convoluted because it's not just about the money; it's about the moves you can make when you're at that level. So,
yeah, the
a little different,
make it a little more complicated. Yeah, in NBA.
It's funny that we still get so fixated on Bobby Bonilla Day when we've got guys playing today that are going to make 20 times what he makes yearly in deferred payments, like Ohtani. He's gonna make Bonilla's payments look like chicken feed when he starts getting paid later.
Yeah.
I think people are amused by that. Bonilla's also getting $500,000 or so a year from the Baltimore Orioles. He had a great agent.
Yeah.
Deferred money, through 2028. Originally, it was $5.9 million, and they took it deferred money from the Wilpons, the past owners. And if players were smart, more of them would do this deferred money deal. This way, in case they somehow wind up broke or the stock market crashes or whatever, they'd have this lifetime stream of money coming in.
It's funny. I had Brett Saberhagen on my show, a year and a half ago, and we were talking about this topic, and he said, Bobby Bonilla is not even the first guy that did this. He goes, I was. The Mets are still paying him. And he said, I got that contract before Bonilla did, but for whatever reason, the fans latched on to Bonilla. And I think the Mets should lean into it, by the way, and have Bobby Bonilla Day at the stadium.
Yeah, have some fun. Yeah, but Bonilla'd want to get paid to show up.
Well, that's true.
Imagine. I mean, what's in it for him? To show up and be paraded around. He'd say, yeah, give me $100,000 for the day and I'll show up for the day.
Here's your check. You don't show up, you're not getting it.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
Extend the hop. Can you imagine the Mets start doing it and it's lucrative for the Mets? They might want to extend his happy Bobby Bonilla Day into the year 2040 or whatever.
It'd be worth it.
Wheel them out. Wheel them out and do the whole stadium around,
Yeah.
Before we get into the All-Star selections, just to go into what we got right now going on in Major League Baseball. In the AL East, the Tampa Bay Rays are ahead in their division, as well as the White Sox in the Central and the Mariners in the West at this moment, because the AL West, the whole AL in its general will bounce around from anything. There's really not one standard team. The Braves are ahead in the East in the NL. In the Central, the Brewers are ahead at top, and the Dodgers, of course, are on top in the NL West. Tampa Bay is the team of the week behind Yandy Diaz's 325 batting average and Junior Camaro's 11-game home run streak, which he extended last night, even though they lost to the Astros. This team is on fire. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games. Like I said, that was after last night. They had won 9 in a row, 10 in a row, 9 in a row, 9 in a row.
They're not going away.
They are not going away. And the loser of the week is the San Diego Padres. Lost 8 in a row. What is going on with San Diego?
What's happened to Manny Machado? He was voted to the All-Star team. He hasn't hit it all this year.
There's a lot of horrible guys voted to the team. I mean, look at the American League roster. You know why the league stinks so bad. But Machado on the National League side is, look at the Padres are the Yankees of National League. They don't hit enough. And
should the All-Star game be played the beginning of September, where we have more of a reflection on what they've done for the year? You're only voting on guys based on a half season. It seems to be unfair, very unfair. It should be a full season. Who's an All-Star, who isn't, and maybe, just maybe, it should be the season before. What they did in 2025 and play the All-Star game in the beginning of June or move it up 1 month, the middle of June or whatever. I just don't like this half-season nonsense. The guy's a phenom for, 60 games and all of a sudden he's an All-Star.
Well, where are those guys? I don't see any of those guys, phenoms. Where are they? I see guys that don't belong there, but not phenoms.
No, phenoms, but
Who's
it's
a half season phenom? I'm not
an
seeing.
all-star should be based on what a player does over the full season. Over the full season. You know, this isn't like a sport like basketball. Some players in basketball, you know they're going to have a similar year after year after year. And they're perennial all-stars. We get all that. But baseball is so different. Your greatest players could be subpar during the year. I mentioned Manny Machado a little while ago. You know, he's having an awful year. I mean, he shouldn't be on any all-star team based on the year. He has, you know, based on what he's done so far.
Well, Judge hasn't played in 6 weeks. He's a starter.
Yeah, exactly.
Trout is out with an injury.
Trout's hurt.
Vladimir Guerrero said he ain't coming anyway because he's for his team.
I remember the great sportscaster, the first one who ever had a sports talk show in history, Bill Mazer.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill Mazer, I remember when I was a kid, he would talk about whether Mickey Mantle should be on the All-Star team or not. People would call in because Mickey Mantle was way past his prime at the time. And Bill Mazer said, yeah, he should be on the All-Star team because it's a game for the fans. The fans should vote on it. Whoever the fans want, that's who should be the All-Star. And that's a debatable thing. Should it be strictly on what the fans want because it's their game? Or should it be based on merit, who really deserves it?
Well, Harper this year, Bryce Harper didn't get voted by the fans or the players and coaches, but they put him on the team as I don't know if they called it
legacy.
I like that. I mean, they used to do that. For a while, they did it in the American and National League. They would add a guy who was likely retiring, like Yaz or Henry Aaron or whatever. They were in all-star games at the end of their career to belong in, but they belong because people want to see one last time. So.
But is Harper really a legendary player? You gave an example.
Not those two guys.
Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Mickey Mantle. These guys are legends.
Not like
somehow about Harper. You know, he falls a little below that. I even put Harper a little below the Mike Trout, for example, as far as being a legendary player. You know, certain guys, I get it late in their career, like a Ken Griffey Jr. Harper maybe is close to that category, but I just don't quite see him being there.
I don't see anybody in the game today that I would put as a legendary player today. They might be 5 years from now, I don't see even Judge. I wouldn't say as a legendary player at this
he's in his prime right now. Yeah, that's why you can't. You don't want to say that.
Right.
So let's do a thing here because Keith had brought up a point about the lineup for the All-Star game for the American League. What players do you see on that roster that you feel deserve to be on the roster? Now, I know this is a fan thing. Yeah. What about Jordan Alvarez?
Probably.
I don't have strong feelings about the roster. Because like I said a moment ago, my philosophy keeps Brian. It's just a partial season guys are being voted on. You know who could have been voted as an all-star? They want to get a little cute for the Twins. I forgot who their representative is, Brian Buxton, I guess. But Cody Clemens, Roger's son, he has 16 homers. He's knocked in runs. He plays different positions. You could have made him an all-star conceivably, as crazy as it would have seemed at the beginning of the year.
You know, in a lot of ways, this whole thing is a competition between the best marketing departments anyway, because should Ernie Clement be the highest vote getter in the American League? He's a fine player. He should be the leading vote getter. Did
they stuff the ballot box?
They have to do a great marketing campaign to get these guys in. So, you know, kudos.
And by the way, Keith, I mentioned Brian Buxton a while ago. 2 players I'd be like infatuated by if I were the Yankee owner. And I've been saying for years, please get Brian Buxton one way or the other. I've been infatuated with him as being the Yankee center fielder. And he still has quality baseball left. Still having a big year. One way or the other, get him. He's worth giving up one of your top prospects for.
I like him a lot. I agree with you, Jack. I like him a lot. Problem is, he gets hurt way too much. He's hurt half the time. He's hurt more than Judge has been hurt in his career. That's for sure. And people get on Judge. So Buxton's a fine talent, but again, I guess there's never a sure thing that they're going to play. But if I knew he's going to be healthy, I'd pull a trigger on him in a minute.
Let me ask you guys this, and this is more thought-provoking for Keith being a Yankee fan. If the Mets turned around and they said to the Yankees, we'll practically give you Juan Soto, the Yankees would have to absorb his contract. We're going to give him to you. You can give us any minor leaguer you want, meaning the Yankees are the lowest level minor leaguer. Do you take the contract off the hands, getting Soto for nothing, and he's back with you?
I guess I'd have to say yes. I don't like the player, but
that's thought-provoking. Now, because Soto has been performing with the Mets. It's not like he hasn't been. He's still the same Juan Soto.
At the plate.
Look at all those years, and you think you actually, offered him maybe a little more.
At the plate, he's been a fine player. He's been a great player his whole career. But you've seen this year why I don't want Juan Soto on my team. He doesn't run out ground balls. I've seen at least 2 examples where he would have been safe.
With the Yankees, he ran out ground balls.
He gives up an inside the park home run the other day because he's a horrible, horrible outfielder. Then he doesn't hustle after the ball.
Well,
I saw that.
Well, listen,
Juan Soto
we said that about Brian's second baseman on the Tigers, Gleyber Torres, who's going to be a free agent. We were critical of him with the Yankees. I like Gleyber Torres on the Yankees. But Detroit's going to lose him.
I think Clemens did play a little bit in Troy here when he was in the minor leagues. I think he spent like half a season here, Rick. Pretty sure.
Hey, Danny. So on the reserves that they have names like Dylan Dingler, who's been very good as a catcher. Kevin McConnell, one of the brightest rookies going right now. I didn't like that fact that Yandy Diaz though was in the reserves. I thought he should have been a starter.
The
dude's leading at 325. He's like got 11. He's got 101 hits. 101 hits.
Who is that, Brian? I didn't catch you said.
Yandy Diaz.
Oh, Diaz.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Salvador Perez, how is he doing this year? I know he's long in the tooth with Kansas City.
I don't think he's hitting a whole lot.
He's been a perennial all-star, as catcher.
He might be as much a legacy player as.
That's.
What's he doing this year? Let's see.
He shouldn't make the All-Star.
He's hitting 200 with 10 home runs. So,
well, that should qualify him in this day and age.
He fits in the American League.
Bob. Kansas City did the smart thing with Bobby Witt early on. They signed him to a long-term extension, gave him good money, not massive, but decent money to make it win-win, and tried to keep Bobby Witt as a career Royal.
He's the best player in baseball that nobody talks about. I'm not saying he's the best player in baseball, but he's the best player in baseball that nobody ever talks about. Bobby Witt.
Well, right. Kansas City,
Bobby Witt is good.
The Royals. That's
because
he brings everything to the field, right? He plays defense, he hustles, he hits, he hits for power, he does everything.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just the fact that, the rest of the players around him aren't doing something on a consistent basis, even if it's like a couple guys. And that's the reason why Kansas City's having troubles that they're having right now.
Guy in New York. You put that guy in New York, and he's huge.
Yeah. What about the pitchers, starting pitchers? Drew Rasmussen deserves it, in my opinion. He's been a really good pitcher.
He's been very good.
Your boy Cam. Say the name because I don't know how to say Schlitter. Okay, Schlitter. Yeah, he's been awesome too. Anybody else on here that you think that probably should be on here or shouldn't be on here?
One guy that made the team but won't pitch, I think, is a shame. Is Mizorowski made the team for the National League.
Oh, yes.
He's not going to pitch, which I think is it's a loss for the fans, right? That's the guys I want to see in an All-Star game. Just go out there for one inning and throw it 110. But as far as guys that did make it, there's who's the guy for the Dodgers that didn't make the team? He's 10-2.
You're talking about Ohtani? Who's not?
No. He's a rookie. Or rookie-ish. Maybe he's not a full-time rookie. You can't think of his name.
Not Yamato, right?
Nope. It's
Yamamoto. He's on there anyway. Yeah.
What the hell is his name? Hang on. Let me find his name. Just saw it the other day or this morning. Oh, Justin Wroblewski, 10-2. He's not on the
What's
team.
his ERA?
2.80.
Dang.
Should be on the team.
You
got to drop somebody. You're going to drop Paul Skeens for him. Skeens is having a worse year.
Wheeler's on the team, right? Zach Wheeler.
I believe he is.
Yeah.
I had it. Here we go. Is Wheeler on the team? Wheeler is not on the team.
Well, he missed part of the year, but that kind of surprises me. He had a little bit of a disagreement. Don Mattingly took him out of the game after he had 105 pitches.
This week.
Wheeler was really ticked off, and Mattingly said afterwards, I haven't talked to him yet. I don't think he wants to talk to me, but I had to do what I feel is right.
Part of the problem, I mean, the fact that you got to take one guy from every team is always going to hurt somebody, right? Logan Webb probably doesn't deserve to be on the All-Star team, for instance. Nobody on the Giants deserves to be on the All-Star team, but they've got to take somebody. In fact, I think
that's debatable whether they should have that rule. I know it came into effect when the Mets came into existence as a franchise in 1962. They had a pretty good second baseman in Ron Hunt, who actually, seems to be their one representative. But what happens if you're the host team? Not to have a representative at all, it's embarrassing.
The Giants actually have two teams, two players. I'm shocked because what's his name? I would never say his name right. Arraez.
Yeah, the good hitter.
Yeah.
Luis Arraez.
He's on the team.
He's kicked around Miami to San Diego and Giants. And
the guy's won like 3 batting titles, and he's on a different team every year.
He plays second base, but he's not that good defensively. So.
And no pop, 0 pop too. So.
Yeah.
Well, Jacob. Did you say Jacob?
Mizorowski. He made it.
He made it.
He's not going to pitch.
He throws like 100 and gets up to close to 105 miles per hour.
He had 100.
That is insane. Yeah. That would scare me if I'm a batter. That would really scare the heck out of me to dig in the plate, Oh.
You remember? It reminds me of. You remember when Randy Johnson faced John Kruk and threw it over his head? and then Kruk went up there right-handed instead of left-handed. It was pretty funny. I like moments like that. I mean,
did Johnson do that intentionally?
Yeah, as a joke. He didn't throw it anywhere near him. It was like 10 feet over his head.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it was all in fun, and then Kruk was laughing. And
that's one of the things, guys, who are talking about leagues being tougher. You have a baseball in your hand. You throw at a guy, that is very serious. You could kill a guy, you hit him in the head, okay? You ever hit a guy in the head anywhere near the head area, I'm the commissioner. You guys laugh at me. I put you out for season suspended. And I get the point across to every pitcher. You throw at a guy, there are going to be dire consequences. And believe me, batters aren't going to be getting hit like that. Believe me, they're not.
Gibson and Drysdale
would have to do something about it before someone gets seriously hurt.
Gibson and Drysdale would have pitched 1 game a year under Jack.
No, they wouldn't have thrown at batters after that, after getting suspended.
You would never stop
what Gibson did was dirty, was criminal, put it that way.
That's not even close to being true.
Listen,
again, guys take the plate. The outside part of the plate belongs to the pitcher, and if you try to take it, they're going to brush you back.
Brush them back, fine.
That's when they hit
back. If you're going to hit a guy with a pitch, don't go anywhere near the head area.
I don't want guys throwing at their heads ever, but there is a place for a brushback pitch in baseball. Your thinking is why guys get offended when the ball's half an inch inside. Guys like the Contreras, his elbows hanging over home plate. We can't throw the ball inside. He's going to get all upset because of that.
We didn't even touch on that whole situation with Contreras.
Wait. Sometimes I can tolerate it, like in the movie, and Keith is a big movie buff, Brian, Major League. Remember when he pointed Jake Taylor to the stands? The Duke kind of nodded, and the Duke gave him some sweet chin music, and got the ball back. Okay, that's okay. You're trying to show. If you're trying to humiliate the pitcher, all bets are off. All bets are off.
And then he bunted. I would have thrown at him at first base. I'd have thrown at him over there.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I understand your point of view there, Jack, about the throwing at the head. But that's why you have pitchers. If it's an intent thing, yes, I definitely would be going after that pitcher, especially with how they're throwing right now. But
sorry,
if it wasn't intent, then because control issues come into play too. It's we were talking about. You get suspended and get your darn control under wraps. Don't throw on the inside. Don't throw on the inside. Earl Weaver used to say that. He says, I don't care whether it's an accident or not. A pitcher keeps hitting someone like that. There should be some discipline. Let him get his control on it, under control. You like that? Get control under control. Well, yeah. I mean, but look at it. When Jacob had broke the record the first time with that 103, it wasn't a strike. It was outside. So you could throw the pitch fast, but if you don't have control over it, I mean, if your control is just off, it's just going to be another just fast pitch. But pitchers have this. Pitchers are human beings. I understand that, and it could happen. They might be trying to do a brush back pitch. They might be doing a brush back pitch, and they might lose control and might hit the batter, unfortunately, in the head. But
again, part of the problem, and Jack's not wrong, that these guys that should have better control inside. I don't care if they hit a guy. They should be meaning to hit a guy if they hit a guy. Okay, how do you like this guy? They're afraid to pitch inside a lot of guys. No. This is for Danny. Anyone saying this? Pitchers could feel they could throw the ball, and they could make believe they had no intent to hit someone when we all know they did. How do you feel about the batter just releasing the bat and flinging it, missing, and the bat goes flying to the mound? Now, if that was going to happen to the pitchers, they wouldn't be throwing at the batters anymore, but the batters can't do it because the batters will get suspended long term because everyone knows it wasn't an accident. The pitchers hide behind this being an accident. No. Again, all we do, you're just like Major League Baseball. Everything we legislate in the game of baseball is to get more offense in the game and protect hitters. Nothing goes toward pitchers' way ever. What rules come into place since 1968 that favored a pitcher? Not one. I can't think of one.
This is true. On that note, though, we will be ending our show today, and catch up with Keith because he's on Stream of Consciousness next.
Yes, sir.
And everybody have a very good Sunday. I hope everybody has a good 4th of July weekend. And we will be talking to Jack Hertz tomorrow on the Gloved Fist. So everybody have a great day. We'll see you next Sunday. Keith and myself, 8 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning.